What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you, as always, by Off the Record. We love Off the Record, and they are here for you. If you get a moving violation, don't plead guilty. Get off the record. There's only one way to do it. There used to be two ways. Now there's only one. You go to offtherecord.com/TST. That's offtherecord.com/TST. Once you're there, you just tell them a little bit about the ticket you got, the circumstances, etc. They fight that ticket on your behalf. More often than not, they win. And if they don't win, you don't pay. Those points come off your record. It won't affect your insurance, your job, etc. Once again, offtherecord.com/TST. That's offtherecord.com/TST. All right, folks, on this episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast, I review the Theon Design reimagined Porsche 911. Also, we talk more about Bring a Trailer and CarandBids values. We consider building an outdoor studio in order to shoot them. And we ponder what the right amount of used is for a car. Do you really want that mint car, or do you want some scruff on it in order to get the maximum amount of enjoyment out of a car? Plus, we do some math on why keeping a car in bubble wrap for 30 years is bad financial planning. This is the Smoking Tire Podcast. Let's go.
This is the Smoking Tire. Let me set my chronograph. Hit the stopwatch.
Start the timer
my
now.
Analog show timer that says the show is starting now at exactly 10:55 Pacific Standard Time. Is this Standard Time or Daylight Time? Daylight savings is winter. Summer is standard. I think it's right. I think it's SS. Right? I think it's summertime. Anyway, we had a nice little weekend.
Pacific Standard can refer to a time zone, which is PST. It can
but they
also
use
be
PST
a name
and PDT.
Oh.
They use Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time, and I've had some really pedantic assholes fucking correct me when I've used the wrong term out of season, as if they didn't know what the fuck I was talking about.
PDT is North American Time Zone, used from the second Sunday in March to the first Sunday in November. So we're in.
We're in DT. Yeah, see,
you're right. PST. Is
who out there actually writes PDT in your shit instead of PST?
I've been writing PST.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I don't care what you write. I know what you mean. But if someone writes the wrong thing and you correct them, you're a fucking asshole. Yeah. Imagine hanging out with that person.
PDT, actually.
But now we know. Summer is a PDT.
I had a call recently for a Road and Track article I'm working on with a bunch of engineers from an OEM, and I sent PST time because they're in Europe, and they all showed up at the right time, and no one corrected me saying, actually, it's PDT.
Yeah.
And these people are just numbers and math from beginning to end.
Was it like a Zoom call?
Yeah.
Well, it just goes into their inbox. Google can sort that.
We're still happy they show up. I'll tell you afterwards.
Why was it like 4:00 in the morning their time or something?
No, it was 4 p.m. their time. It was 7 a.m. my time.
Oh, all right, cool.
But
no worries.
There's some funny story for you.
No worries. I thought I wasn't going to have much to talk about today. I was driving a Ferrari Roma Spider all weekend. There's a little issue with the car, so I can't review it. Unfortunately, I'm happy to say what the issue is. It's literally a brand new car. I'm the first person to get it on loan. They do the break. Ferrari does their own break-ins, so they loan the car out with 1,000 miles, right?
That's smart.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And so I got it with 1,003 or something like that. Interestingly, the car was stuck in comfort mode. You could move the Manatino, and it would say comfort, sport, race, wet, whatever, but nothing would change. So it was in comfort mode. So it was usable as a car, but I did not feel it appropriate to make a video. Of course, I didn't, it's worth one sentence here. This happens with any car could have an issue. And so it's not the end of the world. They're going to check it out, bring it back, and I'll figure out when I'm going to make a video, like later in this week or next week or something. Neat car. Let's just say comfort mode, not optimized for the total Ferrari experience.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Just like, with the 911s, right? Like that's the fuel. The comfort mode is pretty funny. It's an 8-speed dual clutch, and you are in 8th gear at 39 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's
turbocharged engine. So
upshifting at like 17, 1800 if you're cruising. Like if you're just cruising, right? Yeah. I mean, it will go higher,
but it shifts like
it's lazy. Yeah.
And then there's no boost in there, so there's no power.
Yeah. And you put it in manual and you can drive it probably. But the suspension also was only in comfort mode, so I couldn't do any of the sport functions. So Hannah and I went to the beach because that's what it was good for in comfort mode, pretty much. So we'll do that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Turns out, I got a lot of feedback when we talked about professional sellers versus representing the car. Generally, positive reviews of professional sellers from people. The general vibe is the professional seller makes the process easier, saves time and energy, and ultimately brings more money than if the person had tried to do it all themselves. So I think the person who was critical of that process and felt that it was untrustworthy because if the person can't represent the car themselves, then they're somehow hiding something. And universally agreed that if the owner pops up in the comments to fill in any questions, that's as good. I mean, they're not hiding behind anything, but most
I saw another
people
comment
agree.
I thought was interesting, which is in support of using a professional. If the person's willing to pay for a professional seller, they also probably maintained it well because they clearly have the money to do it correctly.
Right.
So that was interesting.
I think that's probably mostly true. I mean,
there's definitely going to be exceptions, of course.
I've had people who have paid me who then wouldn't do some of the things that I recommended that I thought would return more money. I've had people not pay to put new tires on a car, for instance, whereas I think today's customer, if you're buying like a car from like the 50s or something, that might be different. But if you're buying a car that's newer than 2000, I think you're either buying a total project at project price or you want something that you, in theory, could fly anywhere in the country and drive home.
Yeah.
I think people don't like cars that are like 95% perfect. The reaction is sort of, why didn't you go all the way? Whereas if it's 100% perfect, fly there, one-way ticket, drive it home, like my Bentley. I think in many cases that returns more than you invest.
I think I would say yes, specifically with the auction buyer. I think if people are buying a car on local car, they're much more inclined to say, "Oh, this has a to-do list, but it's going to be near my house," and they're shopping for that. But if you're buying a car at an auction, especially when there's comparisons available literally on the website, and well, they put new tires on it. I don't have to fly there, land, and then immediately spend $1,500 on new tires.
Yeah, or if I could buy a $300 plane ticket and spend a day and a half driving it home versus paying $2,000 to ship it, there's money there, and or I can have an adventure. You'd be surprised how many people. I mean, you would really be surprised how many people buy cars at auction, and this is my personal experience. Buy cars at auction. Nobody comes in person to look at the car during the auction, but then someone will fly in and drive the car home. And no one's been like, I'm broken down on the side of the road, but like, so you have the confidence to do the one-way trip, but you weren't willing to like go the few $100 extra to get like a PPI done, locally or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It's just the times. I remember 10 years ago, that probably wouldn't have been the case. I think it'd be a lot more rare.
Yeah. Or like, fly to LA like the day before the auction ends and at least get eyes on it yourself. And like, if it's not that good, like, hey, you got a day or two in LA, go get a nice dinner, go to the beach or something.
Sure, it depends on the car.
And if it's great, okay, you win the auction and now you're in LA. Maybe you drive it home. You write the check. You're then and there. You finish this next day and let's go.
I mean, it depends on people's bank account and schedule, whether they could just, because if they come here and they don't win the auction, they're like, oh shit.
No, of course. Yeah, you've invested in a plane ticket and a hotel room and your time if you then don't win the auction. That's of course true. But it's a gamble versus winning from your couch and sending a transporter later, or paying a professional what could cost $500 to $1,000 to come do a PPI remotely, because the car's got to get to the shop. So either it's flatbedded or driven to a shop, or a tech comes here. So that costs money. So it's just like, where do you want to put that money as a buyer making an investment? But,
True.
Dude, if a PPI, the problem, when people get PPIs done and the PPI reveals an issue that maybe was not visible from the surface, right? A mechanical issue that you need a mechanic to see, right? A professional. They then get mad, as opposed to feeling relief that they now know this. And either they buy the car or they don't buy the car. Maybe if they're bidding, maybe it affects their bid. Oh, that's an issue. It's $2,000 to fix that. Okay, let me cap my bid because I know about this. Other people might not know. They might overpay. So you have a competitive advantage. It doesn't necessarily mean walk away, but people get mad.
But by complaining publicly on the auction, are you then actually maybe scaring away your competition?
Yep.
Because if you
people
don't
do that more often.
Because if you go, I have this knowledge, but nobody else does. Someone overpays. You go, I lost this car that I knew I could fix, and sure, they'll deal with the problem, and that sucks to be them.
People do that more often, where they will go back in the comments and they'll say all this stuff that they found with the car. Sometimes they are sort of down the middle accurate. Sometimes they try to make it seem worse than it actually is. And sometimes they make it try to seem like the seller is a liar because a mechanic found things that a seller might not have known about because the seller is just a regular person who owns a car.
Right.
Or even someone like myself or a higher end dealer might not necessarily know about some mechanical issue or wear item that's coming up soon. I mean, I'm not measuring brake pads before I put a car up. Nobody does. There's commenters that are like, did you do a compression test? You're like, why would I do a compression test?
That's not that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. You have to take a bunch of shit apart.
Yeah.
On my car, you got to take a lot of stuff off to do that.
I mean, if you're talking, there's certain cars where that could be justified. Really old cars. Right?
Yeah.
Really old cars, really high mile cars. Cars that might be knocking on the door of like an air-cooled car that's knocking on the door of a bottom-end service. A compression test matters, right? But in one particular example, I was selling a car with very low miles that is not very old. It has very low miles.
I wonder if the commenter was 85 and they're used to buying old cars and you'd always do a compression check.
And there's just no reason for that.
Yeah.
And people think that sellers in general should be responsible for basically buying and then offering to everybody a PPI report, which is not what a seller is supposed to do. A seller's supposed to be transparent and honest.
Yeah.
But if a mechanical inspection is warranted, whether it's a car or a fucking house or anything, the buyer pays for that.
I think, and also if a seller got a PPI, there would probably be buyers that wouldn't trust it because they're like, this came from them. They might have obscured information unless there were problems that were divulged and they were like, okay, they told us about these issues. And that, if you want to move a car, if you have new tires on it and if you are very transparent, then the buying audience is more likely to trust you. And I think that's a good way to operate. You're very good at that. I mean, you take care of your cars, but you also lay out everything you've done, what was wrong, what might be wrong now.
We try to.
Yeah, I think that instills trust in the shopper.
Yeah. There's things we might not know because there's only so much that we can know. Any car could have an issue below the surface.
Sure.
And we're not out driving these things on the street. We're starting them, idling them, moving them very, very short distances indoors. Mm-hmm. So we're not using every feature in the car very often, Anyway, we don't have to and this is not like a complaint. I'm just like, if you want to sell a car, really, and the car is 95%, you should do the last 5 if you want to sell it at auction. If it's Like if it has old tires or worn tires, like you should put new tires on.
I remember as a shopper years ago when I was buying cars, but like if there was a car that had old tires and people would say sometimes need to be replaced, tires a little old, I would skip right past that thing because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to take on this additional cost. Now I might have gone past some cars that were good, but if the tires are really old, I go, this person's skipping maintenance in other places.
Dude, the same thing is happening right now. I can't say, everywhere in the country, but in Los Angeles, nobody wants to. Everyone who's shopping for houses right now wants move-in ready.
Sure.
No one wants even really like a small project unless it's at a deep, deep discount. There's a lot of demand for like new build or gut reno, like move in, like pretty much fully furnished, particularly after the fires.
Yeah.
I mean, but even before the fires, this was a thing. And so I think we're sort of in the same place with cars right now where people want like unicorns, but also unicorns that they could like fly one way and drive home.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
People want easy because with houses, you could have a small problem, you think, but then you discover it's a big problem. I think, I've never bought a house, but you have. Having proper inspections done, sometimes you need multiple people to come and do an inspection, right?
Yeah. Our house, we were fine on my first building in Gardena. We got fucked by a really bad roof inspector that basically was off by what our roof needed by something like $300,000.
Yeah.
He was all like, no, this can just be patched, like no problem. It's like, actually, we need to replace the
I understand, one of our mutual friends just bought a house last year, and it's like a new construction, brand new development thing, and the whole house has a 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
So you go, all right, I assume there won't be issues, and if there are, they're taken care of by this person, versus if you buy a house that has like, you're like, oh, there's a small bulge in this wall, and you look and you're like, oh, you've had water leaking for 15 years, they never addressed it.
Yeah.
Or the house we lived in Playa that was like, the plumbing issues actually revealed that this thing is overbuilt on a single house
lot. Yeah, it was
lot.
3 partial remodels on top of each other. Mm-hmm. They just gut remodeled that entire house. I drove by. Oh, you drove by it. It's completely unrecognizable.
It looks very different.
Yeah.
But imagine uncoiling that barrel of snakes.
I know.
So
yeah. So people want ready to drive, I think. But speaking of which, I was talking to Thad and Armin, our E46 Whisperer photographer friend.
Guys, we got to take a quick break from the show for True Work. Loving True Work over here. They keep sending me clothes, and they are great. True Work is hell-bent on creating the most technical, high-performance workwear in the world. The True Work story begins in the Colorado mountains, where a trade worker knew there had to be a better solution than wet, heavy jeans, and they were weighing him down, and True Work was born. Every True Work product is engineered for maximum comfort, protection, and efficiency with minimum bulk or extra weight. And that's what I love about the True Work stuff that they sent me. They sent me the Cloud shorts, which fit really good, beautiful technical fabric, lots of pockets, a nice lightly elastic waist that fits with my belt, holds all my things, and they seem like they would be great out on a summer hike. Also, they just sent me this sun-blocking technical hoodie. It's very thin, like a base layer, but it's got a hood on it. So if I'm out in the desert shooting video or driving the Spider on a hot day, it's got UV protection, keep me from getting sunburned, getting too hot, and man, it is nice, soft, and comfortable. I love it. Man, there's room in your life, right, for denim and canvas, but they haven't changed much in 200 years. And True Work, that upgrades your workwear by replacing traditional fabrics worn with modern technical fabrics worn by elite athletes. They're soft, they're stretchy, they're sweat wicking, and they are strong. They're windproof, waterproof, and have intelligently placed insulation for streamlined warmth. Right? Check out the full lineup and get 15% off your first order at truework.com/tire. That's 15% off at TRUEWERK.com/tire. That's TRUEWERK.com/tire. WERK.com/tire. Got to give 60 more seconds, folks, to Cramo. I love this Cramo. When I go out for a morning filming session, right? I get up at like 5 a.m. I'm up on the mountains. I'm in and out of the car, crawling all over these hot cars, setting up cameras, getting back in the car, in, out, in, out, in, out. Now it's like 90 degrees. Now I'm sweaty. Now I have to sit in the car all the way back to city and then do podcasts and office stuff afterwards. I don't have a time for the shower. Right? But Cramo has got me covered. Their deodorant provides me with a 48-hour odor protection. Now, I don't need all 48 of them hours, but I'll need 4 to 6, and this more than covers that. Cramo products are barber grade, made with pride, professionalism, and passion to guarantee quality without compromise. You can elevate your deodorant experience right now like I just did. They've got new signature scents, folks. The Italian bergamot, it's bright, fresh, and robust. And then, of course, the Palo Santo. That's what I've been using. I love my Palo Santo. It replaces a cologne. You can wear it a little heavy bike, and then you're good. You are ready to go out, not just ready to go to the office. I really like it. Helps me keep me going throughout the day when I don't have time for a shower. Cramo's using enhanced multi-layered scent technology for a longer lasting experience. Lasts all day, and they are really, really thoughtfully blending those ingredients. They're soft to the touch. They don't leave a residue on you, and they smell delightful. You can get them now at Target or Target.com to find Cramo's new line of antiperspirants and deodorants in Italian bergamot and Palo Santo scents. Once again, get that Cramo at Target or Target.com. You know, down in Gardena, we have all this wall. Like so much gray, all that wall I built. Yeah. And we're shooting so many cars now for these auctions. I was like, what if we did like a couple different like sets, like in the corners? Like one could be white, one could be like ivy or something. You could leave one gray for the industrial look. Thad was like, if you do the white one, you could do a white sail over it for like diffused and hot light.
That's a good idea.
And I was like, I think it'd be really cool to actually have that. I just wouldn't want it to like look weird when customers are driving up and be like, what's all this wonky shit?
Right.
You know, but we have all this wall to use, but it's all just the same gray.
You mean having real ivy or painted ivy?
No, real ivy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, real ivy.
I want to make sure.
But I would do real ivy in like one area, the part of the wall that's not connected to the other part of the wall, and then do the back corner white, and then leave the front corner like gray.
I think a white sail would be rad. It would
sail,
be handy
yeah.
for interior shots. And maybe when there's no car there, to make it not look wonky, you could have like 3 chairs, like outdoor sitting area or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that'd be very handy.
It'd be like the hookah lounge.
Yeah, but inside.
The outside. Beach club.
Yeah, there you go. That's the Cabana Club.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
I think we can work with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
natural light.
But for shooting interiors, you just pull the car inside.
Yeah, for interiors, but for diffused, middle day light, you could have a nice diffused.
That would be amazing.
Diffusion there. Yeah.
I would.
And you could just, spray the sail. It's outdoors. You just power wash it to clean it.
Yeah, I bet it would wear out after a few years, like cooking in the sun. You'd have to replace it every probably 3 years. Like you
think so?
Yes, the UV in this.
But if it's
LA
white,
is
what
gnarly.
color is it going to turn if it's pure white?
Oh, I don't think it'll bleach it. I think it will degrade the material till you have the stringiness. I'm just saying it'll be a wear item.
That's true.
The UVs here is gnarly.
Sure. Well, so in order to figure out if that corner, right now, Freddie's shitbox Audi is sitting in that corner.
Barbecue car.
Right? We should turn that thing into a grill. Literally. Call Mad Mike and be like, how do I turn an old Audi into a
Is there an engine in it? There is an engine in it.
No, I don't know.
Oh.
The hood is seized shut, and I didn't want to, crowbar it open. I do not know.
You should just set, a gas grill on top of it. The little, camping ones, and then send him a picture of just making burgers.
So we're trying to see, Thad had a good idea. He was like, and Phil, if you're listening to the show, my manager down in South Bay, I'm sorry. Thad was like, here's what you do. Take the cover off that fucking Audi shitbox that's already in the corner where you would be parking the cars for the shoot. And he goes, take the cover off and have the guys set up a tripod and take a shot, like every hour throughout the day to see how the natural light moves across it. And then you can make you could do a thing and be like, all right, so here's the best times to shoot, and maybe the sale would work between, noon and 4.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
You could just set a GoPro there on time lapse and just do
that's probably easier.
one every whatever
Well,
the max
listen,
is.
it's like brown M&Ms. You got to pay these. You got to make sure these guys keep
If they
on
don't
their
have
toes.
anything to do,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But if they have stuff to do, you just go GoPro external battery power.
Now I'm just making sure they have stuff to do. At least once an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should just mount a GoPro and let that spool. Yeah, it's probably a better idea. Yeah, it's probably a waste of human capital, I would say.
To walk over and just hit the timer.
Mm-hmm.
Boop.
Yeah. I shouldn't use the term human capital. It's a bad term.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
Because
like
human beings. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's. I just read about like a couple paragraphs about like why that's such a bad term. Not like I used it all the time before. I think that's probably why I just said it. Actually, is because I read a thing
Probably,
about why it's bad.
Yeah, it's recency bias.
Yeah, you shouldn't say it.
Your brain's like, we got a new word, and then you go, oh wait, actually, it's dismissive.
Well, apparently a lot of big companies, and I've never worked in one, so I don't know, have changed human resources to human capital, which is like a pretty fucked up way to like, even like as a resource is like sort of like, people are a resource, huh? But like, okay, it's a resource. But people are capital is like, ooh, yikes.
Let's see, dictionary says it means the skills, knowledge, and experience possessed by an individual or population.
Is resource or capital?
Human capital. Viewed in terms of their value or cost. Yeah. So you're just like, our total value of the humans we have.
Yeah. Yeah, man, let's not let companies do that. That's just bad.
Can I rant about something for a minute?
Yeah.
The Mustang that Sarah and I were considering purchasing. Remember this a couple months ago?
Tell me that's the one I saw on Bring a Trailer. I saw
Probably
one that was basically like what you described on Bring a Trailer. A Shelby clone, white blue stripes.
Let me look it up. I'll know in a moment. Unless they removed some of the
Will
stickers.
that make you madder or less mad to know that it's that? It
will continue to make me mad.
Okay.
And,
I don't want to make you think about three things at once, but as soon as I was browsing and saw this car,
I wonder if it's called.
go to like whatever year it was. Go by that. Maybe instead of GT350, just put Shelby or something.
Shelby clone.
Yeah. Was it on Cars and Bids? I thought it was on Bring a Trailer because that's where I was listing this one. No. I swear I saw this thing. I'm not making this up. No, okay. We'll forget this. We'll find it later.
2010. Well, it wouldn't surprise me because what I found out, is that a person bought the car from this very nice woman who owned it. Mm-hmm. They talked her down hugely from what she was originally asking.
No.
But this woman wanted to make sure the car went to like a good
home
that was going to drive it.
Yeah.
And that's why our very good friend was helping her with that. And they had shooed away some buyers that were just like had 400 car collections, weren't going to drive the thing, because her husband drove this car a lot. So this person talked her down a lot. 25%. So she let it go. It was on sale 6 days later. So I don't know the name of that person who bought it. If you're listening or if you know that person, you're a shitbag. Because
sucks.
you took this person. I'm sure you told them that you were going to drive it. And I think it just sucks to just flipping it.
Yeah.
It's just shitty. That's
6 days?
6 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't even register it for themselves, probably. Just scooped it and put it back up
and
yourself.
for how much? For the same amount she originally
correct.
wanted.
Right. Yeah.
So basically,
this person
he
clearly
took it out of
knew-
her. He just took it right out of her.
Yeah. This person knew what it was worth.
Yeah.
And then just nudge till they sold it for less, and then goes, now I can get what it's worth.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, it's a personal story, so I'm sure it happens all the time, but it just had a
And in
a very
6
bad
days,
taste
it's
in
not
our
like
mouths.
you're putting any money into it.
No.
You're detailing it and taking pretty pictures.
Maybe.
That's all you're doing.
Detailing it. It was very
It's on a
clean.
dealer website? Or is it like on Facebook
It was
Marketplace?
on a Facebook site, like a group is where it was posted a few days ago. I can't find the ad now, so it might have sold. But I just wanted to announce that that's really shitty.
That is extremely shitty.
Yeah. That's what it is.
a shame.
And honestly, if the price had been what it went for, it's possible that Sarah and I would have been able to talk her into it.
And you actually
And we would have driven it for like years.
You would have done the thing that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that the woman wanted to do.
God, that
so.
fucking blows.
So that's just lame. If you're out there, you're lame.
Guys, we got to take one more quick break for mud water. Listen, mud water, it's a different thing. It's a totally different thing. You might have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about right now, but hear me out. Mud water is a cozy mix of cacao, chai, turmeric, and adaptogenic mushrooms to help you feel focused and balanced and not wired, right? Because I've been there, right? I talk about my anxiety and jitteriness that came from drinking caffeinated drinks, right? I was drinking some light roast. It was intense, right? But what you want are the benefits of that coffee beverage, but without the jittery, without the crash, right? And that's where mud water comes in. Every ingredient in mud water is 100% certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. There's also no sugar and no sweeteners. All you do, drop the powder into your favorite mug, pour some water in it, give it a mix. Some like to go a little wild, add a little creamer, honey, CBD oil. I'll do a drop of maple syrup. That's right, I said it. Little grade A light amber, grade B medium amber. The maple syrup is secret, actually. That's a good one. I shouldn't even be telling you this, but it's pretty fire, to be honest with you. And the best part about mud water is it provides sustained energy delivery, but without the spikes and crashes of coffee, right? And mud water does have some caffeine in it, but they do have a caffeine version also. But it's not as much caffeine as coffee, right? But every ingredient in mud water is serving a purpose. The cacao and chai have a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate flavor. There's lion's mane for focus, cordyceps to promote natural energy, and chaga and reishi to support a healthy immune system. I'll be honest, I have no idea what a reishi is, but it sounds good. Sounds legit. You know what I'm saying? Then you can get the matcha starter kit. You can get the turmeric starter kit. The rest starter kit, they all use different starter kits for different functions. You start with your desired outcome and you work backwards with mud water. That's what it's about. So are you ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head over to mudwtr.com and grab that starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code TIRE. That's right. Up to 43% off with code TIRE, T-I-R-E, at mudwtr.com. After your purchase, they'll ask you how you found them. Please show your support and let them know that we sent you. Keep your energy natural and refreshing all year long with mud water, because life's too short for anything less than clean, delicious energy. And now, back to the show.
I was thinking about, like, what is the right amount? Because I have two cars that I've listed now. They're lit live right now. One has 1,200 miles and one has 6,000 miles. These are very low mile cars. And these aren't my cars, so anything anybody says about them, I don't take personally, unless someone is insulting how they are presented, which nobody is doing. But I was thinking about what the right amount of used is, because over and 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 over throughout the car collecting history, low mile cars bring more money, right? Even to the point where sometimes they're so low mile that you would have to do horrifyingly expensive service to get them driving, right? And usually, you know, with almost all cars, the person who let it sit all that time and not driving it, they're usually not the person that money is the storing of it for all that. It usually sort of, they could have put the money in the stock market or something. Buying a car to not drive it usually won't beat the stock market. But cars with very low miles, almost always, 90% of the time, sell for a lot more money than cars with medium or high miles. And yet, you know, there's a lot of times when people buy those cars with very low miles, they go, I want the best example and I want to drive it. And there are a very small number of people where that's actually the case. I'll point to Zuckerman. He'll spend on that car, and then once it's in his hands, he won't treat it like it has that low miles on it. I can't do that. Other people can't do that. The gentleman whose M3 I'm representing, he thought he wanted that. And then he got it and he realized, oh my God, this car is actually. I thought I wanted to feel like what it was like to daily a brand new '05 M3, exactly how I would have modded it in high school. And then he got it and went, holy shit, this is now a precious. Same lesson I learned, by the way. This is now a precious thing, and I can't do that. It's too nice to do that, and. Maybe there's a level of wealth. Maybe there's a level of, I don't know, you separating your brain or whatever. Maybe it is a level of wealth where this is such a little dent in your wallet that fuck it if it goes down half. But like even rich people don't like the number to go down.
Yeah, a lot of rich people, they hate that. It freaks them out.
How awesome would it be to have like the most depreciated F40?
I think, it's a special person. It's the Mr. Bean thing, you know?
Yeah.
You got this F1 that's worth $20 million. You've crashed it twice. You're going to continue to do so.
Yeah.
I think it's just rare that the person has the mind where they're not, it's not disrespecting like the machine. You're just using it for what it's really for.
Yeah.
And you don't worry about the money, even if it really matters to you or doesn't.
Yeah. My M3, I could have afforded to take a $20,000 or $30,000 hit on that to beat the shit out of that car. I could have,
but you really care about the condition of your vehicles. Like, you like to keep all of them very clean, kind of tip-top shape sort of thing. So I don't think it would matter if the car was worth $10,000 or $80,000 or more. Like you're always,
I'd still keep it nice.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, maybe, but like, there is a right amount of wear, miles, and depreciation. Like the Ferrari 328 was there. 40,000 miles, decent but not great paint. That was a real use it as a car and don't really think too much about it. That was nice. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that. Vin Anatra, he seems to be having a fucking great time with his Ferrari. I mean, buying a beater Ferrari is a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and fucking homie, shout out to Scott over in the UK with Rada Rosa. And his fucking he's got a fleet of beater Ferraris. That guy has a great time over there. Like those guys all seem to be Ferretti, he buys real high mileage Ferraris. He seems to be enjoying them just fine. These people aren't thinking about,
of course not,
about the money on the other end. It's a fabulous headspace to be in, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think before you even bought the car, you've accepted you won't make money on it.
Yeah.
And maybe you assume you'll lose money. So then you're free,
Isn't it funny how the people that are so precious about losing money on their car, on their Ferrari or their Corvette or their whatever, their nice car, they're so afraid of losing money on that car. They won't think twice about the depreciation on their like brand new Tesla, or their brand new luxury SUV or like mid-tier AMG, not real AMG car. They're taking a monster dump on their daily and like rubbing this other car with a diaper.
It would be really interesting to ask a wealthy person that question.
Yeah.
The next time they're like, I don't want to drive it much because the miles, and you go, okay, what's your daily? And they'll say any of those cars you named, surely. And you say, all right, you are going to lose $40,000 in the first year of owning your new Taycan.
Yeah.
Does that not bother? Like, why does that not bother you? But this does.
My guess, it's because it's a lease and it's somehow justified as like a business expense or something. Or blah blah blah.
That's true. We have
they're
to find
not
someone who's
thinking
paying
of it
for
as a
themselves.
depreciation. If you think of it as a lease payment and a long-term rental, you can put it in a different file in your brain.
Yeah, men are great at compartmentalization, truly. So if you look at it like you're like, well, that's a new car I lease, and it's almost like paying rent. Like I have to.
Yeah.
But if I elect to drive this collector car, and it's my fault this goes down in value. But over here, it's like I have to. I have to have a car.
Everybody's car go down in value. But out here, me and my genius. Over here, we're going to beat the system.
I think that's right. Because some people have an F40 they haven't lost money on. So I don't want to be the idiot, the only one who loses money by putting too many miles. But everyone has a depreciating MQB, whatever.
Yeah. But what I think the problem is, if you don't put miles on it, you still have to service it. Yeah. You still have to insure it.
Sure.
And god damn, does it suck to do those things when you're not driving the car. I mean, and it's just like... if you can afford the entry point into that kind of stuff, man, you can actually afford to take the depreciation hit, like the hit of incremental mileage use. I'm not saying
this
daily,
is also something
but like,
I remember. Was that documentary video called Black Smoke? I think like 10 years ago. It was all about the GNX.
the GNX,
Remember
yeah,
that?
Black Smoke. That might have
I think
been
it was Black Smoke. And some guy had one with 300 miles that,
That
like,
car,
in his
that-
garage, in a bubble,
Yeah.
and he had all these framed pictures about the GNX. New York dude, like, through and through.
Yeah.
And he would trailer it to shows in a vehicle that was probably depreciating, and then he would trailer it home.
Yeah.
And, like, and he just loved it so much, he was afraid to drive it or wanted to preserve it. But to your point, he's probably has it insured.
Yeah.
It's got to be stored. He's got to service the thing, and he never gets to enjoy this thing that he loves.
Yeah, we were just at the Culver City Car Show. We went
that's a fun
last
one.
weekend. Really kind of interesting, really interesting spread.
Yes.
If you go to like Malibu or Good Vibes or any of the other, either like, let's just say, wealthier or younger, hipper cars. It's downtown Culver City, and it was a true old school car show. So lots of muscle cars, lots of 50s, but also a whole bunch of lowriders. Just stuff that was hopping, stuff that was really looking good, great paint, bunch of motorcycles, some trucks, some Land Rovers and stuff, like 3 or 4 like British roadsters. Shout out to my client Tom here at the shop, who just like entered his McLaren. He had like the only like
supercar?
new exotic car in the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there was like one other one somewhere, but I didn't see it. I just saw his McLaren. He was a good sport. He was like, yeah, they let me enter it, so whatever. I was like, cool, I get front row parking. But there was a 93 Mustang Cobra there with 84 miles on it. And it just,
84.
I get it. It's probably, I don't know.
I don't get it.
It's probably 150 grand. For someone who's sort of, I guess, thinking a little smaller, maybe, that car was, I think, $13,000 or $14,000 in 1993 or something like that. It was not a lot of money. And yeah, money in, money out. Like, that sounds like a lot. But that thing took up a lot of space. You had to store it, maybe insure it, maybe maintain it this whole time, and your money would have made a lot more money in the market.
True, but I do understand the psychology of people, especially if they've been through recessions and they just don't trust the stock market for many reasons, and they go, "I understand cars, and I will." That's what I'm going to go with. And so to them, even if you don't show them the math, but to them it goes, I know this, and I know this will be worth a lot because I know it's cool.
And there's someone, I mean, maybe that person really does just enjoy cracking a beer in the garage and looking at it for a little while. And the person, I didn't talk to the owner, but the guy next to him said, yeah, he drives it, the guy drives it like a half a mile, loop around his house, like around his block, like twice a year.
So he's done that 168 times. Wow. All right.
I just like, I hope that makes that guy happy.
I do too.
Because
I hope he's not looking at it going, I wish I could drive this, but I shouldn't.
Because let's pull up. Yeah, where we at? Can we go back to bat for a second? Just pull up 1993 Mustang Cobra results. Because what does one with 20,000 miles go for?
5,000 miles.
You know what I mean? Like what is the real difference between under 100 miles and 20,000 miles in this car? Okay, so sold. God, these are bringing fucking loot. Oh, those are ours. They're all ours.
Oh.
Wait, go to. It was not an R. No, it wasn't an R. I'll just delete the R.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So sold for 12. Here's a 12,000 mile is 47,000. Okay, there's a 5,000 mile is 69,000. Wow. And go down 228 mile, bottom row, bid to 68. Okay, so that one didn't get there. Any other ones?
Look, but this is a perfect example of the sadness. These are both black. Mm-hmm. And one has 228 miles on it, and one has 5,000.
Yeah.
And this person with the 228 didn't sell it.
A month
it was
apart.
Bid to the same price, basically, 1 month apart.
So those 5,000 miles were free.
Yes.
Right. Go down. Is there one? Is there another comp that's very low mile that's sold? 15,000 miles is 52. All right. None with like no miles anymore.
A lot of people bidding too, but
Yeah.
taking their reserve off.
Okay. Well, so I mean, I think on the right day, one with like literally like
What
under
color was the
100
car?
red,
It was red,
gray. I think it's probably worth 70. You know, on a great day. Barrett Jackson. Oh, there, that one right there. If that's 2023, 358 mile bid to 71,000. So that's what I'm thinking. I think 70 is the number for that car.
Maybe, yeah.
But like, that's just not a great investment over that long of a period of time to not fucking drive it.
It's not.
Clearly, look, dude. Clearly the smart. Oh, here, look, 60. Oh, that's a car. That's an R. So a Cobra R. 66 miles is 200 grand. But this was not an R. This was a regular Cobra. R's are different. There's a lot of R's with no miles. So many Cobra R's in 93 were fucking bought and bubble wrapped.
Wow.
So many.
So that's been happening for a long time. I feel like I wasn't aware of that phenomenon.
Bought
until
and bubble
like,
wrapped?
Yeah, until like the Ford GTs and stuff.
I really think I always was told this, and maybe someone the first car that I really feel like was collectible from new in the bubble wrap sort of way was actually the DeLorean. Like, there's a lot of no-mile DeLoreans in a way that there really aren't any no-mile anything else's.
Especially
like
of that era.
Countach's and Ferraris, like, there's a couple that have showroom miles on it, but percentage-wise, way more DeLoreans and nothing before that. Everything before that was at least driven kinda.
You think that was the movie effect?
Maybe,
How unique it was?
or like, yeah, could have been.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. If someone has an example of cars that were bought and parked before 81, before the DeLorean, I'm not sure what it is. I mean, some small percentage of Italian cars, but many of those were bought to drive. I'm sure there's some like brass era cars, but even then, not really. Those were rich people's just cars
Right,
when
they were new.
Yeah.
I don't think collecting those existed yet. I'm sure there's one exception, but like there were so few of those.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Because the most valuable stuff the most valuable stuff today didn't become the most valuable stuff until the late 90s and 2000s. So like early 80s was very infancy of mass car collecting. There were always a couple people that had huge car collections, right? But smaller car collections and individuals with a special car or two special cars, that wasn't like, and certainly cars that were bought and parked, early 80s that started, I think, yeah. So anyway, yeah, what did we learn about this? About for the Mustang Cobra, if you had bought it new and put 20,000 miles on it, and sold it for something in the 50s, you're doing 1,000 miles a year. That's driving that car. That's enjoying it.
Yeah, it is.
And that's keeping things moving. It's keeping things serviced. You might have good tires on it. Still incredibly low mileage.
And even if you've driven 5,000 miles in that time, so you're only doing 500 miles a year or something, but more than this half-mile loop.
Yeah.
You're not, I don't think you're leaving maybe leaving $3,000 on the table. Based on what we've seen here, you are leaving only a few $1,000s. And you've definitely spent that insuring it, parking it, servicing it for that long.
I'd like if anyone out there is a data nerd and wants to find a few examples. I know we have some fans that are into this shit. And we've had people give us some great examples before, and we've had these assignments. And I forget the name of the person who did it, and I'm sorry for that. But some good examples where, had you bought the car new, it has to start with someone who's pretty much bought the car new, right? Or you have to at least start with the MSRP new. If you had kept it in bubble wrap, if you had driven it a reasonable number of miles versus if you had driven it like a bunch of miles. If you do like less than 500 miles, and then let's say 5,000. 20,000 and maybe 50,000 miles if it exists. Like, what does the mileage curve look like? And what can you buy to get the most miles for your dollar? Like, where does the miles matter the least? Lotuses, Elises. Nobody gives a fuck about the mileage on an Elise.
Any sporty Honda, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's so many cars with floors, Land Cruisers. Nobody cares. I sold that 300,000 mile Land Cruiser for $55,000. Had a replacement engine, but still.
Camden Thrasher, the amazing photographer, he has a Land Cruiser that he has been using as his like desert. He does a lot of photography of fighter jets out in the desert, but it just crossed 450,000 miles. I think he put 150 on there.
Yeah.
And he's definitely had to do some maintenance, but not on the engine. It's always like an ABS controller or a suspension sensor that went out and got caked with dirt.
Yeah.
Those things just go.
Yeah. So anyway, that was it. It does make me sad to see cars with really no miles on it, because it's all I maybe Ford GTs, but I really don't think so. I think buying the right color combination Ford GT returned way more money than keeping it in a bubble wrap.
Yeah.
If you bought like a Quicksilver and put 5,000 to 10,000 miles on it versus buying a red and putting it in bubble wrap, Quicksilver wins.
I would also say, especially if you bought the car the first year if you had an allocation of something and you didn't buy it. If you bought, this Mustang Cobra in 2021 when the like collector market was at a peak and it had no miles, like then maybe driving it would actually impact it a little bit.
Yeah.
But more likely it's just the timing thing. But if you get an allocation on something, you're driving it for free. If you know it's going to be that popular and people are that excited, if you already know it's a collector car, then the miles are free.
Yeah. Think about miles being free. People.
When you were
Go for that.
And person out there, when you were a kid into cars, was your dream to buy one and have it appreciate in value and flip it, or was it to drive the thing?
Dude, it's this weird man capitalism thing of you want to be able to brag about. It's not even about actually making the money. It's a mental thing. I mean, like, I understand a car is an investment. You don't want to lose money. But in a real world, you can't go into a car purchase expecting to make money. That's fucking delusional most of the time, unless you're talking about like 7 and 8 figure cars. That's like pretty delusional. Most of the time. Most of the time, most cars, you're not making any money. You might be able to get out for what you paid, but not cover your insurance, your gas, your expenses, your storage, all that shit. If you're really honest with the cost, most of the time you're not making money. But just think in terms of smiles, man.
As an exception, wasn't Harris pretty good at that? Because he would get the cars as early as possible. He'd kind of drive something cool for 6 months. And I'm not sure if he was doing it on purpose to sell it.
If you're capable of the hype economy, it's a different. I'm not talking to you. I mean, if you're capable of the hype economy.
But you might be someone who also goes, all right, this new GT3 is going to be super sought after, but I got an early allocation. I can drive for 6 months, make 40 grand.
100%. I talked to a dozen of my clients that rotate through the newest anything. They trade it back to the dealer. They have arrangements. They go, I'm gonna get you this allocation, I'm gonna let you build it. I'm gonna let you build the next thing too. That'll be 2 years. You can put 3,500 miles on this car, and I'll buy it back at this price and get you the next one. And then they roundy.
Are they making money on that buyback price, or are they just breaking even?
Well, they'll buy it back on consignment, sell it to the next person for 100 over on the flip. They're still delivering new ones, but nobody can get it. But they've got this one here with 3,000 miles on it. Take it home today for 100 over, and then split skis, and then it's a nice little what have yous.
I would get in that circle.
Yeah, that's called staying rich.
Yeah. Dear Rusnak or Galpin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The cycle of allocations.
Right.
But nobody wants to say they lost money.
Yeah.
Like everybody us, man, we need to make money on our cars because we're smart investors. We bought the right car at the right time.
Well, whatever it is in the human brain that makes us not want to admit we did something wrong.
Right.
I mean, it influences everything.
Yeah.
Politics being one of the most important and unfortunately consequential versions.
But like
examples.
The coolest person in the world would be someone who bought an F40 for $2 million. And over the course of a couple of years, put 75,000 kilometers on it and sold it for $1.3 million and went, well, that was fun. Next.
Right.
I mean, that guy just found a really entertaining way to burn $1 million.
Sure. Because there's no way when that guy's dying and he's on the hospital bed next to the other guy dying, and guy 2 put 0 miles on his F40 and he sold it for 2.5.
Yeah.
And guy A is not going, ooh, I could have made another $800,000 if I hadn't driven the car.
You know what I think? I think it's the difference. I think we need to recognize the difference between winning cars and winning capitalism. You win cars when you like do the coolest thing with the car.
Of course.
And Jerry said it too. It said like he who gets to heaven with the lowest miles on his 911 like loses. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course, that's Jerry. So he says it more in fewer words and more efficiently and better than me.
But he's probably practiced it. But it's a great point because when you're a kid and you're watching a car commercial that's exciting or a car chase or whatever it is, you're getting excited by watching the car doing a thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are very few people as children that were like, oh, they're just reading Sports Car Marketplace, watching things trade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be 0.0001% of the car fans out there. Driving is what got us into cars.
It circles me back to there is a car that I could buy, an example of any car I could buy that would be too nice for me personally to be okay watching it deteriorate. And that could be because I love cars a lot and I just want them to be nice. Or it could be that I mentally am not okay with literally driving the value out of a car. We could do it. We buy beater cars.
Yep.
So, right. Okay. So at our income level, right, we could treat a $5,000
Hyundai Accent,
sure.
Yeah,
or maybe let's call it like a two from All Cars 3. Let's call it a $3,000 or $4,000 car. For us, we can comfortably drive that to zero.
That was also because we also had a sponsorship. But I know what you're saying,
right?
Like, yeah.
But like even if you saved up for a couple months and bought that car for funsies, that Crown Vic, you would feel comfortable saying goodbye to that money and just doing, if the fucking chassis fell out of that car, you'd leave it where it lay.
I mean, when I had my Crown Vic, like I would do dirt U-turns. I would.
That's true. I'm talking to the wrong person.
Right. I would literally
this.
slide it around because I knew that, one, it was indestructible, but two, I'm not waiting to sell this and make money on it. Or my M3 versus your M3. It's when you get into it, what's the car for? If you go into it assuming you'll make money, you have a problem, I think.
Yeah.
And if you go into it assuming you're going to lose money, it's freeing.
Yeah.
It still sucks, but it's freeing.
Yeah, I think down the road on the radar is like like an air-cooled 911 with like 200,000 miles on it and a fucking giant binder of service history and like super rock-chipped paint.
Yeah. And the other version of this is something that Vinanatra does, Bernoulli, people that take their somewhat fragile, cool car to the track and drive the shit out of it and it explodes and they go, well, all right, I'm going to fix it and get it back out there. Like I stopped taking my car to the track when it broke something every time I slid it, and now I'm too nervous. But
are you nervous about getting home? Are you nervous about not having a daily driver, or are you nervous about the financial implications? Like if we had a trailer and you trailered your car to the track and it broke, and you could at least get it back here.
I think that would
you feel a lot better of that?
One concern, because riding in a AAA truck all the way from Buttonwillow home is going to be just brutal on its own. But I think a lot of it is
I've done it before. It's horrible.
I did it with a guy.
So horrible.
One time, my Crown Vic through a helicoil, basically it ejected the spark plug from its mount. And the guy, I get in the truck with the dude, and he's driving, and he's like, his head's bobbing, and he goes, man, I've already been working 12 hours. And I got so nervous, and I just chatted him up.
Bro, let me drive.
Yes. I just chatted him up the whole time to keep him awake, and then once he dropped me off, I was like, well, I hope he doesn't crash.
No.
But part of it is my frugality of if this thing has a catastrophic problem, how much is it going to cost? And that's going to feel bad because that impacts other things I need to plan for this year,
Yeah. There may be a beater race car in our future. We'll see. Depending on what happens at Willow Springs, there may be a beater race car in our future. I think it would be nice to have a sort of a really scruffy version of something that you didn't have to think about all that much. It may be too hard for me though. I'm not sure I could do it. The 328 was a little scruffy, and I think that was an appropriate amount of scruff. Never had to think too much about driving that car.
I think it depends on the car's purpose. If we had a, let's just say Miata, beater race car, and we go, well, one, this thing is mostly indestructible. Two, the parts aren't that expensive. And we also are accepting that its purpose is for us to go racing. So we are agreeing we're going to drive it hard to red line. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And
no,
then
a
if
race
it breaks,
car.
okay, fine.
Yeah, that's
beater
you
track car.
put a roll cage and harness. You're in a different world of mentality there.
You have to accept that that's what it's for.
No, I was talking about collector shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. I'm talking about you have a car in your garage on the weekends. You know, do you want a car that's mint, low miles, you know, but you have to take extra care of the wear and tear, or do you want something that's a little scruffier and you can kick the tail out once in a while?
Yeah, I want
if
that.
you don't wash it that week, you know.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people think they want a race car on the street. And they don't really want a fucking race car. They think they do. Same thing. They think they want, and I think I want this mint one because that's what happened. The E46 from All Cars 3, I was like, well, this is the shittiest one.
Yeah.
What if I got the best one? Turns out it's not fun to buy the best one. It's fun to buy like a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
That's actually where fun is.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, should we go to the people?
Yeah. Do you want to do throw to the Theon thing?
Oh yeah, we had some extra radio. We did extra radio. I went out with a car called the Theon Design. It's a reinterpretation, reinvigoration, rejuvenation of a Porsche 911. There it is. It's blue. And I came back and I did a podcast about it. And then we had to hold it because there was some sort of embargo. So if you're on the audio, this will be pretty seamless. But if you're in the video, my wardrobe is about to change. 911, that blue 911 that was outside.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that I drove. There's the pictures on my Instagram of it. It is there. It's blue. It at first glance it does look like a Singer at first glance. At second glance, less so much. I think it's not unattractive, but it doesn't have some of the real wow factor that I get from the detail work on the Singer. It's a 964 based 911. It's got a 4-liter air-cooled motor that makes 400 horsepower, 6-speed gearbox. It's a carbon body, and this one was weird. It's a carbon body, so it's very light. But if you scroll and look at the interior, it has like really cushy power seats that are apparently reworked original 964 seats, but they kind of look like when those guys build 32 Fords and put like Chevy Tahoe seats in them.
It did look like that at first glance.
Yeah.
I think part of it is the color of the seats for those listening. It's like a dark gray, but with white inserts, which to me looks very Ford, very boat, just not expensive.
Yeah. The leather does feel nice, but that's the look I got. Having said that, those seats are really comfortable, and the ride quality of this thing is really good. And so if I wanted to do like 2,000 miles in an old 911, this is the retiree Grand Tourer version of that experience. It was very, very comfortable.
What was the noise like inside? Because it's a light car, it's carbon, so
but it has a full back seat, full leather back seat that matches the front seat. I didn't take a photo of it, but it's there. It has 2 modes, quiet and loud, and the quiet mode is pretty reasonable. It's not significantly louder than what you'd get from a stock 964 with an exhaust. The loud mode is loud. And as you can see in this photo, it has a dual exhaust.
I was just noticing that.
Yeah.
That's a little odd to me.
So the 993 Turbo had a dual exhaust. In fact, all 993s had dual exhausts. Most backdate, this is a backdate style car, like a Singer Classic. Most backdates go with a center exhaust. And actually, the center exhaust gives the car a sort of rasp and a high-pitched sort of howl. The dual exhaust doesn't have that. This car has more of a cammy, thundery boom, which they say they did the dual exhaust for aesthetic choices, which is fine. They're free to make that choice. I honestly don't think it sounds as good as a center exhaust. The center exhaust would sound better to me. They are saying that there's a very lightweight, sort of purist version that they're doing at some point that will have the center exhaust.
I wonder if the electric active exhaust requires this side exit situation.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, pretty much the valve is either muffler or muffler bypass. So I'm not sure it does, but that's what they said. It rode well. It was balanced. The inputs were good. The brakes, which are 993 RS brakes, did feel very nice, although they were a little bit squeaky for a street car. But the engine's tuning was not great. It, for a 4-liter compared to a Gunther or Singer, was not that powerful, but it also didn't like run that good. Like it had a couple of hiccups. It had a couple of backfires. There's a knob with 4 settings. There's like comfort, sport with throttle blip, and race. Now, this is an NA engine. There's not a lot you can do with 4 modes. Now, the customers, apparently, this was a customer car. They wanted it. Comfort and race is all you need. The sport didn't really do much. And the throttle blip was not a modern throttle blip. So if you wanted to go from 5 to 4, it didn't blip it and hold it in the right place to match. It just did a boom, one blip.
So you have to catch it right there.
And there was a delay. And so if you don't time it right, it'll still do the blip even if you've let out the clutch. So a couple of times I found myself when trying to use that mode, I had shifted too fast and it did the blip after I'd already let the clutch out and the car jerked forward, which is bad because I was on a downshift.
Sure, yeah,
I was braking.
Right, that is unintended acceleration.
Yeah. So it did that twice.
Yeah, that needs a clutch sensor.
You know, they were just sort of like, it's what the customer wanted. And I go, man, at this level, you need to be able to tell your customer no. The customer doesn't get to call the shots at that level.
Well, or if the customer wants auto blip, like a 370Z or number of other cars do it, of course, it needs to be that good.
Yeah.
And then it needs to, like the 370Z doesn't add throttle once you have the clutch out. It knows the clutch is out. So if the customer says, I want this, you have to go, okay, we will figure out how to make that work. Yeah.
So that was frustrating.
Wow.
That part wasn't great. And look, ultimately, while it was, other than that software thing, it was executed fairly well. It's clearly a luxury spec car. I mean, it's weird to have a carbon body and then have 100-pound power seats with extra leather. That's a little strange, but like, okay, fine, whatever.
People do it with McLarens all the time.
People do, but like, I don't know. Okay.
I get you.
It's not. It's a choice, but like, fine, not what I would do. But the issue, this car, this is 400,000 British pounds plus a car, plus a 964. So that's a huge amount of money. And although it is cheaper than a Singer, it is cheaper than a Gunther, you could probably get one faster. They said they've built like 16 of these things. And you could probably have them build something that was lighter and you know, a little different from this one, because it seems like they're willing to do whatever the customer wants. At that price point, dude, a 964 RS is like 300. A 993 RS is probably 400 or 450.
And you don't have to explain who built those.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to Theon, like this is something that every aftermarket restomod builder, whatever you want to call them, like has to go through.
Yeah.
Of making a name for yourself, reinforcing that name, and making it really like known across the land.
Yeah.
So it's a little rough in the beginning.
Yeah. I will say that if what somebody wanted was a luxury car, this is a luxury car version of that type of build. It's definitely not for me, but you know, I'm sure I don't think they need to build a ton of cars, so I'm sure somebody will find, something they
Did the structure feel super solid the way the roof did?
It was
like
put
with
together.
carbon?
It was
Yeah.
put together really nicely. Yeah, I mean, the build quality was nice. Yeah, it was tight. There were no rattles. It was good. Yeah, it was actually assembled very well, and the pieces were of a high quality. But there was also some noticeable bits from before, like not just the blinker stock wasn't just a stock 964 blinker stock. It was the one from the donor. Like I could tell it was, and it was like a little sticky, like just like stuff like that.
Right.
And there was the window switches, which on a normal 964 would be up right on the top of the door by the front. Now they're moved to the center console in front of the handbrake, which is fine. I have no problem with that. They're just on either side of the behind. There you see that, and they're what I call the SEMA switches, which are those round metal with the ring lights.
Yeah.
When I drove Gunther's first car and I told him about the SEMA switches, they now make their own switches, and he was like, I think Peter was pretty hurt when I talked about the SEMA switches. I don't think he liked hearing that at all, and so they changed all the cars, and so now they have like real with these milled buttons and levers. They're amazing. And so I told these guys, like, look, at this price point, the SEMA switches maybe are no good.
Because those switches, when they came out, were amazing. But now they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you see them everywhere, and you're selling a car that is rare and this expensive.
Dude, they're in like Can-Ams and shit. Like, come on.
It's true.
Like,
can you imagine? I like your switches, man. I got those in my Can-Am R.
But the leather work was nice. I mean, the build quality was excellent, and there's room for more of these companies. Why not?
Sure.
It's such a small volume of cars. Who gives a shit? But
Yeah.
And like full disclosure, by the way, this car is stored here. So a bunch of people. This is their press car. I am directly profiting off of this company because they are paying me to store their car. But they asked me to have a go and give them their honest opinion on the car. And like everything I just said, I said to them because they came with us. So none of that should be a surprise to them. Maybe we need to try a different car that has a different focus. I mean, I told them that maybe they need to not let the customer make so many choices. I mean, dude, Lee Keen wouldn't let me do shit. Guess what? I bought the car anyway.
Yeah, true.
Like, you know what? Like, I wasn't happy that he wouldn't let me have my way, but he stood his ground. I fucking caved. I bought the car anyway, and he was probably right, because if someone says they've got a Keen Safari, they know what they're getting. It's like a standard.
Right. Yeah.
So, and this is supposed to be a brand name product. It says Theon on the back of it. So, most with a Singer Classic, yes, they evolved through different engines, and there was a 5-speed, and then there was a 6-speed, and whatever. But they only let the customer make so many choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think it speaks well that if the construction is good, and I like the idea of the carbon body, it works really great for roof, although that's a unibody. Or this is too. It's just like these little details, but they do matter. And at that price point, I think it's hard to figure those things out when you've sold the car, you're trying to sell the car, and you're competing with a growing number of companies that sells 6 to 7 figure Porsche.
Nobody in the car world, not nobody, few people in the car world give a shit more about details than vintage 911 people. You're not going to find. I mean, it's them. Above them is Pebble Beach judges. Other than that's it. They're going to look at every aspect of this car and go, they're going to look at that car and those seats. They're going to go, those aren't 911 seats. I don't care. That's like a Chevy Blazer seat.
Well, it's funny that if they are in fact 911 seats,
they are.
It's
that's why I was
the way they're trimmed out.
Yeah,
and that could have been the customer's choice, for the livery. Which I mean, the exterior is also the stripe's not for me, but I think for this much money, if you get in there and you look around and the buttons, the interactions stand out, and it's the interactions and the things you see the most frequently, the buttons you touch, all that stuff, that almost matters as much as the carbon body, because the carbon body is great and you'll feel the benefits in the handling, but it'll kind of melt away eventually, and you could get pretty close with a really good setup car. But everything you touch, and then if you go and sit or look in a Singer and you're like, well, their buttons are perfect, and these things are perfect.
Well, above the radio on this interior, there's 4 knobs. You can see those 4 knobs. The one on the left is a push-pull. The one immediately to the right of that is a click left to right. The one to the right of that is more of a spin, and then the other one is a click left to right. So they're not. You don't do the same thing with all of them, and they're not labeled. So I don't really know.
Labels are important.
Labels
this was
are-
the case with that Ironworks Chevelle as
Yeah.
well. They had these really cool milled buttons, these 4 switches, I think, in the center console, but none of them were labeled in any way.
Yeah.
And I guess if you own the car, you know, but it also was just like this sea of unmarked aluminum.
Yeah, you need-
a little
yeah.
something. And you can do it in a way that looks awesome and
Yeah.
I think actually upvalues that switch in the car.
See Pagani.
Well, yeah.
Pagani switches are labeled. They got metal switches all over the place, and they're all you don't have to be told what switches do in a Pagani. It says it on them. Yeah, it costs money, but you got to do it. So anyway, check them out. It's theon.design. There's photos on my Instagram, and yeah, that's a thing. There you have that. Let us go to the Patreon. As always, if you want to ask us questions for the show, if you want to get the show live, if you want to get the show early, if you want to get the show without ads, and if you want to get extra show, all those things, they're available. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. Not to mention, if you want to get either of the final 2 colors of the Notice Canyon watch, which are coming, the first one will be at the end of May. You must be a patron to get it. That is a thing. And so let's go with the people. Zach's underdrive pulley coming in heat. Have there ever been press cars you wish you spent more time with, or press cars you wanted to get rid of ASAP?
I mean, definitely yes to the first one, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I would say like going on a press launch sometimes. You don't actually get to do all that much driving compared to having a car here for a week where you get to live with it and use it every day just as a car. I think you learn a lot more. So
Yeah, but I'd say anytime we've had a McLaren of any kind, I've always been sad it left.
well, that's the other one is like you wish you spent more time with. Like, does that imply that there's more to learn, or I'm sad it's gone because it's awesome and I just want to keep it?
I'm taking it as it's sad. I'm sad it's gone,
Yeah.
and I wanted to drive it more.
Yes, all McLaren 7 Series cars I wish would stick around for twice as long.
Same with any V12 powered Ferrari.
Fair. Cars you wanted to get rid of? I mean, no, not really. We're sort of at the point in early when we felt like we had to take any car that was available, and we ended up taking a lot of stuff where it's like, why are we reviewing a Honda Passport? I mean, it wasn't like we wanted to get rid of anything. Like, I don't think there's been anything that we've personally gotten that's been like that horrible.
No, but there's cars that when they left, I went, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't seek that out. It's not on my list of things to buy if I ever get rich or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
That's the first list of what do I want to spend more time with, because it's what I'd buy if I could.
Yeah, I don't maybe not bad, but like forgettable. There's a pretty good amount of forgettable.
Forgettable, or a lot of performance SUVs, as impressive as most of them are not what I want from an SUV.
Yeah.
So therefore I go, I don't want to get rid of it ASAP, but I go, okay, it's not how I would want a truck.
Yeah. Maxfield says, why don't more automakers have built-in dash cams? Considering how many cars have 360 cameras now, it seems like this would be a huge selling point and could potentially make cars cheaper to insure. I don't know. That's a fair question. I mean, GM, in the performance data recorder, I think you can activate that on the street. I don't think you need to be on the track to use that. I think you can turn it on all the time.
Probably true.
So GM has it in Corvettes and Blackwings.
I think this would be a question for a David Twig or someone. I imagine you don't have to respond to that question also, David. It's probably expensive because you need memory and you need processing power. So you have these 360 cameras on these cars, but they're only working, with Tesla being the exception, when you're parking, right?
Yeah.
So they're off most of the time. And when you turn them on, if they're not recording, that means they don't have to capture that memory, that feed. They don't have to process those graphics, like all of those things to capture that video for a 6-hour drive and record it the whole time. It requires computing power they might not want to deal with.
That's true. Talking to the GM's PDR people and also the Cosworth people who do the software for the Blackwing. Those cameras are still only 1080. And I sort of made fun of them to their face a little bit. And I think maybe it wasn't fair. And I was like, I went on the ZR1 launch in 2019 or maybe even 2018. And I asked if the cameras were 4K then. And they said, oh, they're 1080 because they need to work in the heat and the duty cycle for like 10 years. And I said, that was 5 years ago. And they were like, yeah, that hasn't changed. They're like, that's still exactly the thing. And this video that it's recording is really never designed to be seen on anything bigger than a laptop screen. So like what is, it's for analyzing data, not for like making Top Gear. So, and I was like, essentially the amount of processing power that you would need to do the real-time telemetry overlays and all that stuff with 4K cameras is high.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like that much when you're looking at a dash cam. But the fact that if you built that same dash cam into the car, it would have to be connected to all this other stuff.
Yes.
And it would make it infinitely more complicated.
Plus,
right?
The dash cams, they live out in the air.
Yeah.
Right? So they're cooling themselves. And we've had this problem with GoPros where
Yeah.
if running 4K especially, they overheat. And now if you want to encapsulate that dash cam as part of the car, it is not going to get the airflow. It might overheat. Now, I do think I could see this happening in the future for sure. I could see the technology advances enough and the car companies realize they can say comes with dash cam when they're using they're just using the system that's already in place for radar crews and not accident stuff like parking things, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Wagon. I know big SUVs aren't your specialty, but the GMC Yukon Denali has just had pricing released in Australia after being converted to right-hand drive. Priced at $175K Australian, which is $110K US dollars. Competitive models would be the X7 or GLS 450D diesel Mercedes. What would you pick? Man, I could not see myself driving a Yukon Denali for $110,000 versus a Mercedes or a BMW. I mean, I'm not like a huge X7 or GLS fan, but they have to be nicer products than a fucking Yukon Denali.
I haven't driven a Denali in 5 years, and that's when I was like filming their B-roll, and they look cool, and they're very solid and probably will need less of a service life than the other cars they listed. But the wow factor of just getting in them is not there versus the X7.
I mean, I haven't
the badge recognition.
I haven't done the Denali, but I've driven the Escalade, which in theory is an upgrade from the Denali. I wasn't that blown away by it. I mean, maybe it's because I'm in a lot of Ubers, but like, I don't know. It doesn't feel not for six figures.
Well,
those don't feel like six-figure vehicles to me.
But I think the pricing in Australia is just different because they have to. I don't think they're built there, so everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
But I think if I can get the same thing across, if I can get an X7 or a GLS 450 and with nicer features for the same money, I would definitely go with one of those. Especially if it's a 2-year lease purchase thing that I'm going to get rid of after a couple of years.
Yeah. Suck it up and buy the Linglongs. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Google that. What's the most interesting lost media car? Cars like the Chiseta V16.
I know. What you always say, suck it up and buy the Michelins. Linglongs are the very cheap, cheap Chinese tire.
That's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
What's the most interesting lost media car? The Chiseta V16, Mazda Furai, Ascari A10, cars that were crazy but not mainstream. Well, the Mazda Furai was they only made one. It was a concept. It did drive. I think it ran. Ascari A10. They did build a few of those. That was a real car. Chiseta. They built a few of them as well. I mean the Vector. The Vector W8. The original Vector is amazing in that it's like such a piece of junk. But it looks so funny. I can't help but look at one every time I see one at a show or something. They're such silly cars.
The Ascari A10 was kind of rad.
The Ascari A10 was like a Lotus Elise on steroids, right?
Yeah.
Like an Exige on steroids, kind of. Isn't that? I haven't looked at one in a while. I remember it was on Top Gear. They had a yellow one. Whoever I think Clarkson drove it and really liked it. I like the Venturi 400. It looks like sort of like a French version of a Ferrari 348. Those are really neat cars. I've actually driven two of them, strangely enough.
Oh, so the Ascari A10 was a road-going version of a race car that was in the Spanish GT, and it used the BMW S62 V8. So I think it's the V8 from the
Yeah, that's the M5, E93 M5.
Oh, M5,
right?
Yeah.
Isn't
yes,
the E90 one the S65?
S62 is, I think you're right, because it's a 5-liter, and that's from the M5.
Yeah, the nothing gets weirder than the Vector, especially the early one, the transverse engine ones. Barbecue sauce on my titties says, at one point Continental was its own brand apart from Lincoln. We're all aware how much the newest Continental flopped, but if they split off again like Genesis, maybe they could go after the ultra market. I don't see it, man. I don't think that any American car maker, I want to say any, certainly not the big three. Nobody at the big three really understands luxury or has really demonstrated any interest in trying. Except I haven't been in the presence of that new Cadillac yet, but
I will say I think the Lincoln exterior design right now is really good. I think their SUV is very nice looking, and I mean the sedan I thought was pretty cool looking as well. 2024. I want to see what their sales are doing though.
Yeah, I mean
their sales were up 28% in 2024 year over year. That's
I think they had 2 or 3 new models.
From the Nautilus and the Aviator. I mean, I think they're good looking SUVs, but I don't think this is the time to split off an existing American company and say now this is our pinnacle luxury version.
Isn't Genesis like in the shitter right now?
I don't know.
I think there were some recent stories about Genesis that were not looking very good.
Their reliability long term is not I
think heavily impacted by tariffs.
That would make sense.
I think that the prognosis. Yeah, I would not. They're not the role model right now I would use, unfortunately. No one has yet to truly execute the early 90s Lexus formula in full. Acura, Infiniti, Genesis, none of them have done it.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know how much each of those spent, because we know that the Lexus, they spent like
over $1 billion in 1989.
All the cars lost money for a while, right? In the early years.
I don't remember exactly. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
That's true. I think the development was huge, very expensive. And now
go read a book called The Relentless Pursuit, which is about the development of that car. Christian says, what seat is the most comfortable? S-Class Coupe, Bentley, or Rolls-Royce?
Bentley in my recent memory.
If we're talking about, I haven't been in that Maybach convertible, that new one yet. That could be very good, but Bentley seats, very, very good. Let's see. Liang Ku, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Any car is a car that, what car is built like a tank but doesn't look like it? And what car looks like a tank but isn't built like a tank? How about one? The Rezvani tank, which is a Jeep Wrangler, basically.
I would also say like a new Hummer EV looks like a tank, but most new cars are not built like tanks because there's so much of the material is meant to compress or splinter to dissipate energy. That's why every car accident looks like a confetti party happened there.
Yeah, that's intentional.
That's why nothing's really built like a tank because it's all meant to crumple.
Yeah, I mean cars that are built like tanks that don't look like it, like a Volvo 240 sedan, is a very tough vehicle. As is like a Mercedes 190 from like the early 90s, like a 91, 92, 190E. that's a pretty tough sedan as well.
Yeah, you need to go to 90s where they knew safety tech, but the materials things were still made of metal for a large part. Those are kind of tank-like, but don't really look like it.
Samir here, breaking the car. Most of the cars that I've driven that have drive mode selectors have struggled to feel the difference in ride and handling between comfort and sport. Most of my experience come from BMW and Mercedes. However, I've driven a few other sporty cars and still struggle to feel the difference in ride and handling. What are some cars you can name that have a drastic difference between sport and comfort drive modes when referring to ride and handling? Well, first off, drive modes are not always linked to suspension modes, and there's a lot of cars that have drive modes but that don't have adaptive suspensions. So, even you're talking about BMW, Mercedes, you don't say what specific models, but like if you're talking about a somewhat entry-level E-Class or C-Class or A-Class or whatever, almost anything below like an S-Class will not necessarily have an adaptive suspension. So your drive mode might just be really changing the shift points and the throttle sensitivity. Now, if you're talking about M3s and M5s and AMG cars, then there's settings for shocks and there's settings. So, I mean, I don't want to assume that you know that, but many cars that have drive mode selectors don't change the suspension at all. So make sure that the problem is actually that you're not trying to feel it in the wrong car. Okay, so if you want to feel drastic differences, you can seek out a Corvette with a Z51 pack and magnetic ride suspension. That will have a very drastic difference with the ride and handling. I mean, this isn't exactly relatable, but Bentleys have enormously huge breadths of talent, as do cars like a 911 Turbo has a pretty good spread. McLarens, have an incredible spread.
Anything with mag ride also.
Yeah, I started with Corvettes.
Oh, sorry.
Corvettes is probably the most accessible place to feel that difference.
I was responding to the chat, so I missed
That's okay.
the first 90% where you said.
That's okay. You knew what I said, so it's fine. But yeah, Enrico Palazzo wants to know how Taycan is pronounced. It's pronounced Taycan. You can say. I don't think anyone really gives a shit if you mispronounce it, and I will say Taycan once in a while, just for funsies. Because why say words the same every time? Nothing means anything anymore. But the technical term is Taycan.
Eminem got very rich and famous by twisting how words are said.
Right? He rhymes orange with stuff.
I know, that's a good video.
Mm-hmm. Beneteau Driver said, last episode you said something interesting. Thanks. No. He said, I said the e-tron was a good car but a bad EV. Other than range, what makes a good car a poorly executed EV? I just think that compared to the Taycan, the e-tron, the e-tron SUVs, I think EVs that are based on being adapted from gas cars are better than dedicated EV platforms.
You think EVs that are adapted are better?
I think, for instance, like the Hyundai Kona EV versus the Hyundai Ioniq 5. The Kona is a gas car with an EV powertrain versus a dedicated EV platform. The dedicated EV platform will return a better EV experience than one that started as a gas car.
Yeah.
And the Audi e-tron SUVs are on this platform that was a gas car platform compared to their next-gen cars, which will have their own platform. Mm-hmm. That was what I meant. So, they're not as, thorough.
They can't be.
Yeah.
They start with constraints, whereas the other ones are from a blank sheet of paper, and they can figure out everything exactly. It's all optimized to be an EV.
Mm-hmm. I'm so over cars. In 50 to 100 years, will the division between electric and ICE cars be the same way we think about fuel injection versus carburation in the last 40 years? No, you're still pumping gas. I think the way the mechanics of how the car is refueled are just so different. And
The propulsion is ultimately the same between carbureted and fuel injection.
Yeah.
It's just more efficient with fuel injection.
Yeah. I mean, you'd like to think that people who are younger would be more accepting of EVs than people who are older and who are resistant to change. If you grew up around EVs, they're not as weird or stigmatized, I would hope. Mm-hmm. We also thought that about racism like 10 or 15 years ago. So, yeah.
Depends on what people are taught at home.
Yeah.
It's really the ultimate.
Yeah. I mean, I think filling up an EV now is sort of like filling up a gas car was in like the 30s, except we have electronics to find the stations, which makes it much, much nicer. Instead of like, you drive over that mountain, you know.
Go to the pharmacy and ask them for ethanol.
For a bottle of ethanol or whatever they got. Yeah, so let's see. Dre from Houston says, I'm a fan of Doug. Proceeds to shit on Doug. No. But have you seen the type of Porsche owner he describes? This is a Porsche owner who's obsessed with their options and specifications on their build. I mean, I don't know anyone who's like that obsessed with it. But like,
well, Dre goes on like, I don't see that in Houston. I don't see that as the current stereotype. I read this earlier, like Doug also might live in an area that has more of those people versus if you have cast a wider net in a different city, then there's less of the like, ooh, I specified this vent thing.
I mean, there's so many Porsches in LA. And in California, I think people want to personalize them. And so on the one hand, you have, how is mine different from yours? Oh, we both like the GT3. Okay, but how is mine different from yours?
Sure.
So you have that. And then there's some people that want to one-up. They want everything. They want the chroma flare and some they won't say they're proud of it, but they want to tell you that fucking MSRP started with a 4 or a 5, you know? I got more options than anybody else. These guys get addicted to allocations. Oh, now you can get the special wishes. They wouldn't even let me get in the special wishes. Oh, I got painted fucking seat belts. Oh, they wouldn't even let me get that. How'd you get that? Oh, and it's like it stops being about the money because they're all so rich that it just starts being about what would they let me get that they wouldn't let you get.
Right. So I wonder if the population, the number of 911 owners in LA area, SoCal area, is much larger than in Houston, and therefore you need these more nuanced areas of separation.
Sure. They're very popular cars here. Mm-hmm. And so how is mine different from yours becomes an important topic of conversation. And I don't know anyone that's that insane. I mean, I know a few, rightfully so, right? But like our friend Bo Bachman over at Galpin, like he like invents colors, good for him. He's having a good time. Like I'm not hating on that at all. When we go see people at car meets and stuff, they're not really talking like that. They might talk about it once when they buy the car. Oh, look, and here's what I got. And then after that, it's, well, what color is it? Oh, it's Dalmatian blue. Cool, looks great. And then it sort of ends. But there's definitely like those people do exist. They're just like not in our all the time social circle.
True.
But like that's just rich guy collector shit. They're just all it's keeping up with everybody. And Canyon Collector says a couple people. I have at least 4 people who've emailed me that are going to get all 5 of the watches. So I assume this is one of them. What were some of the other colors that you wanted to see the dial in but didn't? I have a prototype of a frozen berry metallic dial that I might wear once in a while. It seems like maybe Pebble Beach this year will be the right time for that watch. But I didn't think it worked as well as it does on the car. So we elected to not do that. We thought about a purple that we ended up not making. My mother loved the prototype. I gave it to her for Mother's Day. She was very excited. She has a piece of Unica. And that teal that we did for the giveaway for the blood drive that our new friend Scott out in New Jersey won after donating blood. It was a great thing that We did, doing the giveaway, and several people that signed up for Be the Match have ended up matching and donating stem cells. So
Great.
we did a lot of good there and raised a bunch of money, and all that was great. I kind of wish we could have made that dial because it was beautiful. That teal dial was fabulous. And if I knew we were going to keep going, I probably would have found another way to make a special watch to give away because I promised Scott I would never make the color, that was going to be a one of one forever. Anyway, that was another one. But the mother of pearl and the British Racing Green with Gilt are gonna round it out. And then I was talking to Notice guys this morning about what the next watch will be, and I have some ideas. I think it could be very interesting. Let's see. Bad Gardener says, did something happen that make you stop talking about your speed of travel in terms of 13, 14, etc.? Did you get a better lawyer? I think I used to do that, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think as you get older, there's certain things you kind of grow out of. One is maybe wink, wink, bragging about speed on public roads. I also, you might notice, don't do very many burnouts anymore. There was a big burnout period in like 2010 to 2014 or 15, and really no burnouts anymore. Might have to do a burnout for funsies next time we get the appropriate vehicle, but it has been some time. Upper Big Bazonga's Canyon Road. It's working. I like that. How livable and intuitive are the haptic controls on the Taycan now that you've had it for a while? So I'm doing a video. When are we shooting it? Thursday, Zach? Is that what we said? Wednesday. Thursday. The 6-month update of the Taycan is coming up. It's been 5.5 months. By the time we air the video, it will be 6 months. And so we should include that in the video, is how the haptic controls. Honestly, the only thing that's really a haptic control in my car is the climate control. Everything else is either on the steering wheel or on the touch screen. And the climate control, we really just leave at 71 and hit auto. And so I'm not messing with it all that much. I will say that if you're the kind of person that messes with your air vents a lot, those digital touchscreen air vents will drive you insane.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, it's not that big of a deal. We sort of found our preset and left it, and now it's just like auto, and we really like almost never touch that panel at all. But the digital vents is not an improvment over any kind of a system.
And those will surely break at some point.
I mean, that's just crazy. That's a bad system. But everything else is through the touchscreen. I will say that scrolling through the Sirius stations on the touchscreen kind of sucks. But the steering wheel controls do a lot with the volume. In general, I really like using the car. The downsides are far outweighed by the upsides of driving that thing around every day. Yeah. Big Ben says, I read that Kia is launching a GT version of the EV9 3-row SUV complete with the synthetic sounds and gearbox. I think Kia is going to kill it with this. Something practical for the wife and kids, but halfway fun for me. Why is no one else giving their EVs this tech? I think they will. I think it just takes, they saw it last year. I think it'll take a couple years for it to be copied effectively, because the people who copy it, they can't just copy it. They have to improve it. So they have to first think about how they can copy it and improve it. And I think Porsche is probably in the best place possible to improve it, because they have an entire history of car sounds that they could record and load, and gear ratios and power to weight ratios. And I mean, they have all kinds of data that they could do to make it so cool. Now, I don't think you need your EV9 to sound like a Ferrari, but once you decide that you're going to put that tech into your EV, it's pretty easy to spread it throughout the lineup. And there isn't really any reason not to. They're putting paddle shifters on the fucking steering wheels anyway. You got to use them for something. Prashant says, how much of an effect do modern tires have on lap times? A Civic Type R on cups is close to a 997 GT3 RS, despite being down on power to weight. How much could something like the old GT3 or Scud close the gap with modern supercars with no changes other than the tires? They just did this. Carrera GT just ran the Nürburgring again. Can you find the time difference? I think it was Jorg that did it, because Porsche is giving new tires to Carrera GT owners. I'm pretty sure Jorg Bergmeister ran a lap on the new tire.
It shaved 16 seconds.
So there you go.
There you go.
16 seconds off the Nürburgring, and that's Carrera GT. Yeah, so huge. I mean, a huge difference. I think
that's how much that matters.
Yeah. I don't know if you would factor that in, I guess it depends on where you were starting before, how much you would gain with new tires. But that car is 20 years old, so a lot.
Let's see. In 2003 they ran it, and then in 2013 they ran it with a set of Super Sports. But now, they're running it on these. Yeah, 16 seconds is huge.
Yeah. 2 more, and then we are done. So, angle of the dangle. Have you ever tried really hard to talk someone out of buying a car that you really didn't want them to buy? My son just got his learner's permit and wants his first car to be a 2013 WRX. That's a bad first car.
It's just too fast, probably.
Yeah.
I hate to say it and be that person, but it's pretty fast. Very safe, safely built, good construction, crashworthiness, etc.
What they should have is an XV Crosstrek, probably. No turbo, manual, NA.
Like the old one.
No, like
sorry. When you said
Subaru.
SV, I was thinking SVX.
An SVX. No, the Crosstrek. Yeah, they should have the NA 4-cylinder
or regular Impreza.
Yeah,
but a Crosstrek is a super safe car.
Yeah,
I would.
You got a manual and a Crosstrek? You can still, right?
I think so.
I think you can. Last one, and
There's actually some more.
Wait, what? There's a bunch more, but we'll save them for the next show. Angle of the dangle. Oh, wait, no, sorry, my bad. Shep. Went for a backroads drive yesterday in my 996 Turbo. That sounds like a delight. It was on a semi-rural, winding 2-lane road. Speed limit 35. Most people safely drive around 50. SUV ahead of me was going less than 30 for several miles. It seemed like they were lost or looking for house numbers. I waited a mile or two and then safely passed them on a double yellow when I found a stretch that was visible and safe to do so. A pickup truck behind me caught me several miles later, flashing lights, giving me the finger, presumably upset that I passed this car. Am I the asshole? I'm aware that what I did was technically illegal. Well, I think you got to reap what you sowed. I mean, I think I'm not going to convict you of a moral failing there. I understand. I think if you really did have a visibility to make a pass and they were going very slow, you've got a very fast car, you could probably scoot around that truck safely, even if it is technically illegal, and I would not convict you of a moral failure for doing that. Having said that, if someone else saw you and got shitty about it, well, you did the thing, didn't you? So I don't necessarily think that's an appropriate reaction to that. But I don't know. I guess I could see maybe why the person was upset.
It also depends on, look, your definition of a safe area to pass them. It could be very different from that truck's, or different from our definition. I don't know how long was it a straightaway that was half a mile long, huge viz. I mean, if a pickup truck or a box truck could also pass them.
Yeah.
I feel like there is this universal. We've witnessed this in the canyons where cars going super slow, and when the whole population's annoyed, sure. But if you had a very short straight and you dropped a second, scooted aggressively, and had to dive in and did something that pickup truck thought was very risky, then I could see why they would get shitty about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you picked the wrong guy to do that in front of, and that sucks, but that might happen. I mean, fortunately, it was just honking and waving and fucking giving you the finger and not brandishing, or something worse, which, I don't know if you saw that video from last week of the guy with the motorcycle.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there was an altercation on a highway between a car and someone on a Harley, and the car straight up, hit the guy, sent him and the bike flying across the road,
Jesus.
and then dipped out. I mean, they caught the driver. Like, he's going to jail for fucking felonies.
Murder.
Yeah, for sure. But like, yikes.
There's a
little responsibility.
That's horrible and like just abhorrent. There's a video from a few years ago from the 14 near us, and a car tried to swerve to hit a motorcycle. The car missed the motorcycle.
Oh, I remember this
hit
one.
the K rail and then flipped itself down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a good karma one.
Yeah, I would say to Shep, like you did do something illegal, but you also don't know who's in the truck.
Yeah,
and they might be ultra sensitive to these sorts of things, and they view that road as their home. That's also a thing that happens, and they're like, I'm the policeman, so you shouldn't be doing that. And so who knows?
So that's the other one is sort of like where you're going to pull a move like that. Like if there's people and houses around, that's maybe, and like in Shep's comment. It says that they were doing less than 30 for several miles, and then says they waited a mile or two. I don't think a mile or two is enough time before doing a double yellow pass for someone going under the speed limit. I might wait a little long. Personally, I would put up with a little more before I pulled a double yellow pass. Just me. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not convicting you of a moral failing here, but I would probably wait another mile, 4 miles.
Maybe there's a dotted coming up.
Yeah,
maybe there's a pullout coming up.
Something. But it's okay. You got flipped off, and you live to drive another day. Thank you, everybody. You are excellent podcast audience, and we appreciate you very, very much. We will be back later this week with more Smoking Tire podcast. But thank you to our patrons. We're putting up this video. Oh, I don't even know. When is this airing? Not till next week or Thursday? When is this airing? I don't even know. I don't even know. I can't even promote anything because I don't even know when this is going up. Probably right on time for the tariffs to change again.
Well, now they're relaxed again.
They're relaxed again.
As of today.
Good. Isn't it good thing we didn't talk about it on the podcast last week? Because by the time we put the fucking show up, it would be dead segment. Death. Yeah, we love you guys. See you later. Bye.